Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, and a very special thank you to Peter Winters in the US, who I think must be our most loyal listener. Because he not only listens to this podcast every day, but he also recently went to the trouble of creating a mini video to share and help promote my new book, Great TED Talks Innovation. And I feel like I've known Peter for years and we still haven't met. But Peter, if you're listening to this episode, I will have that cold beer with you one day. So thank you so much, Peter, for all that you do. It really is appreciated more than you could know. And speaking of cold beers, in a trip to Prague a few years ago, I remember exploring the beautiful city and Gothic architecture and long, endless summer nights with cold beer. It means that city will always have fond memories in my heart. I even remember standing on Charles Bridge, doing my best Mission Impossible impression. But something that I never got to see on my trip to Prague was the tech startup scene. But I wanted to change all that. So I wanted to put Prague on the map, but for technology. So today I've invited Martin Nedved, CEO of Aims, onto the podcast. So Aims API is an AI tech company that uses machine learning to solve some of the problems in searching through large catalogues of music. In a nutshell, their technology takes the next step from the current way of searching with keywords and metadata and allows you to do searches in a very similar manner to the way that your brain identifies music. And by analysing an audio track, the Aims algorithm will find you more similar music in a given music catalogue. But that is especially helpful for editors, music supervisors and other creatives across the media industry. So Aims is using technology to create tools that help music professionals, publishers and record labels work smarter and faster than ever before. So all that was more than enough to capture my attention. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Prague so we can speak with Martin, CEO of Aims, right now. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
First, thank you for inviting me, and I'm very happy to be here with you, Neil. My name is Martin Nedved, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Aims API. Aims API is an AI-based music search for music companies. Just a little bit about my background. I have been working in music business for all my life. I started first in my parents' company. They started a company about 25 years ago, what is called production music. So it's a little bit of a niche of the music business, and I had several different roles over the years in the company. Finally, culminating in me and my brother taking over that company about 10 years ago, and I think that really played a massive part on who I am today and what I'm doing with my new company, because it really helped me see how important the technology and the digitalization is for any business, but especially for the music business. Because I saw how my parents' company was not performing that great, and my brother's obvious answer, I would say, to those troubles was, we need to modernize that business. We need to digitize that business. And we did that, and it has been extremely successful. So this other company that I'm not going to be talking so much about today, we have expanded it to several countries across the region, and it's now the leader in the production music. And that's what I've been doing until recently.
It sounds like you've been incredibly busy, and I'm excited to get you on the podcast today. And before you did come on, I knew that Aims is an API service that uses powerful AI to search for and recommend music within production music catalogues based on reference audio tracks. But can you tell me a little bit more about the kind of problems that you're solving with this technology and who your target audience is?
Absolutely. So what we do is we work with music companies, and I would... mainly music companies that focus on synchronization, which is a term that is being used in the music business for when you need a music in an audiovisual or video setting. So we are working with companies who provide music to other businesses, other professionals, mainly TV broadcasters, film studios, advertising agencies. And they have their special types of problems that we are solving. The main problem we are really trying to solve is how do you find the perfect music to put in a video? So that's the essential problem we are trying to solve. So we work with professionals, business to business, and the main audience that we are really trying to target is music companies that own large catalogs of music. They work with many people ranging from music supervisors, sound engineers, editors, just generally TV and film professionals who need music for their videos. And the videos can be anything. It can be feature films, documentaries, TV commercials, or YouTube presentations, anything really. And now you might think that don't those music companies know what they have in their catalog? And of course they do to a certain point. But even the ones who build a whole catalog from scratch, they run out of memory to remember everything they have in the catalogs. And some of our clients have thousands or hundreds of thousands of tracks. So it's impossible to store information about all that. But AIMS can remember all of that. So, sometimes it's difficult to describe what we are doing because the main difference between us and some of the other companies that are doing the same thing is that ours simply work. So, and it actually works great.
And what I love about what you're doing there is you're using technology to unite talent, expertise, and indeed the entire industry. But do you have any use cases that will just help anyone listening to compare and contrast how things used to work and the alternative that you've built with AIMS today?
So in the production music business and in just the general, the type of music business that we work in, which is the, like I said, TV, film, commercials, part. The typical way you work with a client is through a brief. So in the brief, a client will be describing a summary of the usage of the music. So they will be describing how they are planning to use that piece of music, describing the scene, maybe describing the intent in the video, and they will be also describing the music that they are looking for. And the typical way to describe the music is a reference to possibly several tracks that might work in that setup, but for some reason don't really work entirely. And I think it's essentially very difficult for people to think about music in objective way. So objective way meaning using keywords or tags. So pretty much nobody really these days thinks about a piece of music in terms of metadata, keywords, and tags. So no one thinks of guitar, happy, optimistic, fast, classical rock, building tension. So this is the way how a professional might describe a piece of music, and that's how actually the search for music has been done in the past decades, really. But it's not a way how a typical music user thinks about the music. When they think about music, they think about maybe a certain piece of music that they like, or they think about a pop song that caught their attention on their way to work. So what AIMS does is it allows you to search based on the track that you have in your head, and it's something that has been really in the people's heads for decades. That they were looking for a solution like this. They were looking for a solution that would allow them not have to describe the way in a quasi-objective way, but would just allow them to put whatever is in their head into the machine and then find that. And finally, I can say that the technology caught up with these ideas and AIMS has been able to actually achieve that. So one of the great thing about doing what we are doing is getting the feedback from our clients, the music professionals, and they are really saying that they have been looking, or they've been hoping that something like this would happen, and something like AIMS would come about. And they are very, very happy and delighted that it has actually happened. And they are telling us how they are finding tracks that they would never find using the standard way, using the keywords. And they are finding pieces of music that were kind of lost in their catalog, maybe even older pieces that they didn't even remember anymore that they really, really had in the catalog. If I can maybe describe, go in a little bit into detail about the problem with tags and keywords, and sure. I don't know if this might bore anyone outside of music business, because this is very, very much specific for music business. But tags and keywords and metadata in general is a huge problem in the music industry. And in our part of the industry, the range of the problems is slightly different, in that there are many companies who are investing very large sums to pay people to tag their music. Meaning, someone has to listen to the music, and then they describe that music in keywords. So if you took Beatles. I don't know, Yellow Submarine track, someone would listen to it, and then they would say it's so what is it? It's a happy, optimistic, quirky. Then you would be trying to describe all the instruments that are in it. You would describe the genre, moods, etc. And so there are whole sorts of problems with that approach, because one, it's very, very expensive to do that on a large catalog. And like I said, there are many music companies who own catalogs of hundreds of thousands tracks. Some go even into the millions of tracks. So it's very expensive to do that. It's inconsistent, because everyone is doing it differently. Every music company has different vocabulary of keywords that they are using, and then all the it varies, from time to time, and it's also very subjective, because the people themselves who are doing the tagging, it's what might come as happy for one person might be just neutral or even sad for a different person. But there are like less extreme examples, but you might be using different words to describe the same things. So these are all problems that professionals in the music industry have recognized in the past decades, but there was really not a good solution to solve that, because it was a not great way to do it, but there wasn't any other, or there wasn't any better way to do it. But luckily, like I said, with the technology improvements, mainly in the machine learning space, we have been able to solve most of those problems. And we are not solving them, like I would say, head on by doing the tagging, by making the tagging automatic, even though that is something that we are also working on. But we are trying to go around it. So we are going directly at the why are there tags or keywords in the first place? Well, they are there only to allow people to find the right piece of music. So what AIMS is doing is just not using any of those keywords, not using any of that metadata. And what AIMS does is it analyzes the audio, it analyzes the audio track, and then compares it with the other audio tracks, with all the tracks that we have or the client has in their catalog. And the most interesting thing, I think, and the most magical part is that AIMS actually knows what it means for two tracks to be similar. So we have, in a way, taught the AI to recognize what it means for a track to be similar in many different ways to another track. So now you can use one track to search for tracks that are similar to it.
And I'm curious, though, what's the story behind AIMS? Were you struggling with other solutions out there, or was it something completely different that put you on this path?
It's a great question, and it really goes to how we started with AIMS, and it goes to also to show how I think we are different. We started working on AIMS because my other company, the one that I mentioned at the beginning, the family company, we had a problem that I was describing here earlier. We had hundreds of thousands of great tracks, and we had a big problem in the search and in the metadata because our clients and our employees couldn't find the music in it because the catalog was too large. They couldn't really know the whole catalogs by themselves. So we were looking for a system like AIMS that would help us solve that. And we did a market research, I would call it, or we just looked at all the different solutions that were out there, but we didn't like any. We didn't really like any that much that we would be willing to license it or use it. So we thought, well, why don't we try to do it ourselves? And that's actually how AIMS started. We started it as an internal project in our own company, and then when we actually came to the point where it was good enough, we created a separate company, which is now AIMS, and we started talking to other music companies like ourselves that we knew that they might use it, and we had a very quick response from the clients because the solution works really well for them. And like I said earlier, they have been looking for that something like that as well. So it went from having a problem to actually having a completely new company with and delivering the solution to other clients within just about 2 years' time. So yeah. So and of course, the advantage of that was that we knew very intimately what kind of a problem we were trying to solve with this product, which I think is something that sets us apart from some other companies and from quite a lot of technological startups in general, because they are very often coming from a point where they have a great solution or a great piece of technology, and they are looking for a problem that they could solve with that technology. While we came from the other way around. We had a problem that we knew was wasting many people's time, and a lot of resources were going into solving it, and not very successfully. And that really, really helped us focus on just this one thing, like how do we solve this particular problem.
And it's so refreshing to hear that, because all too often I hear about companies that use tech to create this solution and then go out there looking for a problem. But I love how you saw this great opportunity lurking in the problem, and one that machine learning could actually go out there and unlock. So what is the role of machine learning in this, though? Can you expand on the game changer capabilities that it provides that possibly weren't even possible until machine learning arrived on the scene?
Absolutely. So machine learning is at the core of everything that we do at AIMS. It's absolutely crucial for us, and just very, very plainly, we wouldn't be able to do what we are doing without it. So I would say 10 years ago, AIMS could not even exist, or it wouldn't be possible for us to exist and do what we do. As you know, machine learning is in a way trying to simulate how neurons work in a human brain, and AIMS is no different in this. So AIMS works like this. Just imagine you had 20 different musical tracks that you knew really well, and someone played you a different piece of music. Most people would probably they could tell pretty well which one of the 20 tracks is the most similar to the new one, to the reference one. And we do exactly that with AIMS, just on a much larger scale. So we don't do it on 20 tracks, but we can do it on 10,000 tracks, on 1 million tracks, or 10 million tracks. And I think what's also similar to like how AIMS works to a normal person is that just like the typical non-music professional really couldn't tell why exactly a piece is similar to another piece, because it might be many different things that our brain actually can analyze in just instance. It could be, we are comparing different features of the tracks, such as genre, tempo, mood, whether it's using major or minor keys, and many, many more. But most people are not even realizing that they are doing it in their head. They couldn't even really describe what they are doing when they are comparing different pieces of music. And similar to that, we have trained AIMS to know the similarities as well, but we don't really tell tell AIMS to use genre or to use the mood or the tempo. It really taught itself what is the most important part of that, and it's kind of this problem of having a black box where we don't really exactly know how AIMS is working, because we don't exactly know which parts of these tracks it's using to find the similarity. One thing that I believe is kind of setting us apart from other music startups that are trying to use machine learning is that most of the focus in the music industry have been on trying to create new music or things like that. And we do not really see that as being that interesting problem when it comes to the business use cases, because it's a great technological problem, but it's not really as much a business problem, because in the music industry, the supply of music is not really a problem at all. There's really more music than there has ever been, and there's better quality of music, better variety of music from amazing composers, and there are just so many out there these days. So we don't really see that big of a need to create more music and faster. So for us, we believe that much bigger business issue and business case is finding the right music in that supply and finding use cases for that music. So how do you use that music? How do you put that music into the right context or in the right video? Or how do you play the perfect music for the perfect audience? So so I think that's also one thing that we really like about AIMS and about what we are doing, is that we are not trying to replace the composers, or we are not trying to replace anyone really in the whole ecosystem, and that's, I would say, is bringing us quite a lot of joy, because we are not fighting any hurdles where people would be afraid to use our technology because they would be thinking that this is something that is going to steal their jobs. But on the contrary, I think this is something that's helping both the composers, where we are finding more uses of their music. It's helping the music users, because they can find much faster whatever they are looking for.
Now, it's also an incredibly exciting time for you guys with your recent collaboration with the Universal Publishing Production Music Group. So can you tell me more about that and how it came about?
For us, this is absolutely exciting, and I mean, to date they are the largest company to utilize our service, and also the feedback that we are getting from them is simply amazing. And I think they are a great match to use our technology, as they are the largest company in the production music business, and as such they can really bring the functionality to the largest number of people, both within their company and their clients. And that is obviously something that we want to do. We build the technology to get it out there with the users. the deal is global, so they will be using it. They will be using it on all their websites that they have all around the world, and they have many local companies that will be also benefiting from this. So absolutely excited about that, and it's just starting. So we are at the very beginning of the collaboration with them, and it came about through a couple of months of discussion with their top management, both here in Europe and in the US. And I think it happened quite smoothly because they were prepared in a sense, because besides their obvious focus on music in all its aspects, so of course the music quality, the music range, and etc., they are also cultivating a very sophisticated tech capacity. So I don't want to be speaking on their behalf, but I really see them as not only a music company, but partly as a tech company as well, or at least definitely in our part of the music business. And they also share our belief how crucial today technology is in all aspects of the business. And so in this part, if you want to deliver the best experience to your clients, you need great technology for that. And they understand that, and they are willing to invest in that belief. So really, once we have done a trial of the technology for them, they loved the results, and it was fairly smooth from there, really.
Excellent. And of course, I also want to highlight that you're speaking to me today in Prague, in the Czech Republic. And one of the things I try and do on this podcast is highlight stories and tech startup stories from outside Silicon Valley and bust a few myths along the way as well. So I have been to Prague. I've done my best Tom Cruise impression on the Charles Bridge. I've been to Sparta Prague ground. I've enjoyed some wonderful beer and some fantastic times. But when it comes to technology and the scene over there in Prague, is there anything that you can tell me about them?
Absolutely. I would say that the Czech startup scene has really been booming for the past 10 years, and we have had some notable successes, really large ones. The most notable, I think, would be two antivirus companies, AVG and Avast. Yeah. And they both are of Czech origin, even though of course they are like absolutely global, and they have I'm not sure if they IPO'd or if they just been acquired, so I'm not exactly sure, but in the range of billions of dollars. So, and that also helped the Czech startup scenes to realize that they can compete on the global market, that there is really nothing holding them back. Because I think one reason why it came so late, I mean, the success here in the Czech Republic, is the mindset that the mindset that we especially people in the Eastern Europe has, that we always felt like we are slightly behind and of course economically we still might be, but when it comes to technology, there's really nothing that you can't do here in Czech Republic that you can do anywhere else in the world, be it the Silicon Valley or be it UK or Germany. And I think from those early successes came a whole host of other companies that are doing now really great. I think just several come to my mind. I think a company called Product Board is doing really, really well all over the world. There's a company called Good Data. That's also, I think, now has valuation, might be closing on 1 billion, or definitely somewhere close to that. So yeah, it's been many different companies these days.
And what about yourself at Ames? What's next for you guys? I appreciate you probably can't share too much about the road ahead, but is there anything you can leave us with today?
Well, we, of course, at any moment, we have a very full roadmap of features and improvements that we are developing at any moment. But I'm not sure how interesting it would be for the audience. But I think that might be interesting is that we are really looking at how we can use BAME, how we can use Ames in a what is the bigger picture for us. And so we are really looking on how we can bring Ames to other parts of the music business, to other companies. And we are in tests with many record labels. We are in tests with music publishers, but also companies outside of the music business completely. So with the music users. And we are seeing some early traction there. And I think the next months for us are really going to be about how we can adapt it to their use cases and bring it to a larger audience.
And for anyone listening, especially if you've got anyone in the music industry that would like to find out a little bit more information or even contact a member of your team and continue the conversation we started today, can you just point them in the best direction of how they can find you guys online?
Absolutely. So the best way is to go to our website at aimsapi.com and contact us through there. And we are also on LinkedIn, so find us there. And I think it's really important and very easy to see how AIMS can benefit any music company or anyone who's using music in a professional setting. Once you go to our website and once you try our demo, it's much easier to see where the value is than like trying to understand what I'm trying to say, which I understand might be difficult sometimes.
Well, like I said a few moments ago in the podcast, all too often I get to hear about companies that use technology to create a solution. They go looking for a problem. But I just love how you saw this great opportunity lurking in the problem and one that machine learning could unlock. And fast forward a couple of years and here you are and getting amazing feedback from someone like Universal and how it's solving that problem for them, which is just great testimony to the work that you're doing there. So a big thank you for taking the time to come and share that story with me today.
Well, thank you very much, Neil. I appreciate that, and thank you.
So the AIMS API is the product of this collaboration between music supervisors, composers, machine learning specialists, and production music experts. And in doing all that, it is combining talent, expertise, and industry know-how in an incredibly unique way that will be instrumental to sync listeners and music supervisors. And what I love is this problem first and then building a solution that I think is incredibly cool. And the fact that they're getting amazing feedback from Universal is testament to the approach that they took there in solving a real problem with technology. But if you are from the music industry, let me know your thoughts. And for anyone else out there, if you've got any questions or even just want to say hello, please keep those messages coming in. My email address is techblogwriter@outlook.com. If you do follow me, though, on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, which is just at Neil C. Hughes, if you connect or follow me on any of those platforms, please don't just follow and then lurk in the background. Please introduce yourself, because it means so much more when I actually know who you are that's listening to this podcast. And finally, of course, if you would like to work with me, if you need help with business blogs or launching your own podcast or anything at all, pop by my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. But that's it for today's episode. I'll be back again tomorrow. I've got another guest lined up for you all, so I'll see you all bright and early tomorrow. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.